If you play or have played WoW with a Shaman, I am 100% sure that you want a tanking spec. If that is correct, stay with me to discuss the Geomancer spec for Shamans. Today I will bring up something that I've been thinking for a long time now, and it's the main reason that I started this series of videos. As you may know, I am writing a fanfiction novel based on Warcraft, but I also want to create even more content regarding this amazing game. After Druids got their 4th spec, I started to discuss with a friend some possible specs for the remaining classes. And this is what I intend to talk about today. I'll just tell you my thoughts and I encourage you to comment your own ideas. Instead of following the traditional alphabetical order, I'll start with my favorite class, the Shaman. Let's take a peek to the lore and the game mechanics so we can explain why the Geomancer spec makes so much sense. Geomancers are all over Azeroth, and they aren't the only ones who commune with the Earth element. There are also Earthmenders, Earthcallers, Earthwatchers, and characters like Erunak Stone Speaker and Marut Stonebinder. The Ascendancy spell, which turns the Shaman into an elemental ascendant, is yet another proof that an Earth-themed spec is missing. Elemental Shamans turn into a Fire Ascendant, Enhancement Shamans into an Air Ascendant, and Restoration Shamans turn into a Water Ascendant, but there is no Earth Ascendant at all. And finally, back in Vanilla and the Burning Crusade, Shamans could tank low-level instances, counting with talents like Shield Specialization, Parry, and Dodge. In addition, during Cataclysm, Rockbeater would make the Shaman generate 30% more aggro, and when unleashed, it would taunt an enemy. In terms of gameplay, Geomancer Shamans would fill the tank role. They would wield two-handed axes and maces, and their main resource would be mana. Let's view then the main skills for this build. Primal Strike is your main attack, dealing physical damage to your target. It has a chance of resetting the cooldown of Healing Rain, ensuring you can last longer in each combat. Stonewall is the Geomancer's main tool for defense, reducing damage received by a percentage. The interesting aspect of this skill is the Shatter mechanic. Each time you are hit, Stonewall begins to crack and unleash the inner molten powers of stone. Each time, you gain a charge of Shatter, stacking up to 10 charges. Each charge deals increased fire damage to enemies that attack you, but reaching 10 charges forces the armor to crumble, and it's time for the Shaman to reapply Stonewall. With Earth Vigor, you use the power of Earth to attack your enemies and restore your spirits. It is your own cooldown strong attack, dealing heavy nature damage and healing you for an amount. It also removes 3 Shatter charges, making Stonewall last longer. Fissure is your main AoE skill. You shake the ground around you, dealing damage and applying Rupture to enemies hit. Rupture reduces enemy attack and movement speed by 10%, ensuring your foes are less of a threat. Sandstorm is one of your long defensive cooldowns, reducing damage done by enemies affected by Sandstorm by 50% and reducing their movement speed by another 30%. With this ability, the Shaman becomes the ultimate defensive weapon against large crowds. For passives, the Geomancer has Might of Deephold, the skill that allows Shamans to become even better tanks. But the best passive available for this spec is Earthbound Weapons, which enhances your Primal Strike and auto-attacks even further. This passive is great for AoE situations, and it brings back the old Earth Living effect in its own fashion. The mastery for this spec is Stone Skin, which increases healing received by the Shaman, and it also increases armor and healing done. Stone Skin synergizes with many of the Geomancer main skills, and it ensures you survive even further in each battle. A few talents for this build would include of course the Earth Ascendant, adding an additional long defensive cooldown to your arsenal. Molten Landslide turn your Stone Wall into a more threatening skill. By consuming the Stone Wall buff and all 10 Shatter charges, Molten Landslide throws a massive ball of lava in a line, dealing fire damage to enemies hit. Mud Ground increases the effectiveness of Healing Rain, reducing enemy movement speed and providing a chance of removing Shatter charges with each heal. Finally, Glass Shards turns Sandstorm into an aggressive skill by adding physical damage to its effects and reducing its cooldown by 1 minute. With this package of skills, the Geomancer embraces both defensive and aggressive aspects of Earth, bringing a tank that doesn't only endures damage, but also helps healers in keeping melee combatants alive. Now, I do not know how players would gain access to additional specs. Recently, Nixxiom said in one of his videos that it would be cool to unlock new specs after reaching Exalted with a faction, just like allied races work, and I think that's a brilliant idea. Imagine reaching Exalted with the Earthen Ring and unlocking this spec. Or maybe you would gain access to it after a long questline. I imagine it would feel really rewarding to have a new spec after doing something special, like you went through all that hell and it was worth it. In any case guys, what do you think of this build? Would you play this spec? Please tell me in the comments what would you like to be an additional spec for Shamans. I am already thinking in a 5th spec, Shadow Hunters, but first I'll make a video for each other class. Just tell me what you want to see. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Remember that you can support me on Patreon if you like my work and want to check the progress on ambassadors. You can also support me for free by following me on my social networks. All the links will be in the description below. A huge thanks to all my special patrons. See ya all guys!